Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 459 of Ink in Your Veins. I'm Rachael Herron, and I'm so glad that you are here with me today as I am talking to Elyssa Friedland, who is awesome. We talk about the fact that, yes, a great title can be enough reason to write a book. We also talk about keeping track of the details and struggling with reveals and character building and not reading reviews and not killing ourselves with promo. So please stick around for that. What is going on around here? A lot, a lot. My sister is in town. So I have two sisters. One sister moved here last year in November, and the other sister is in town for a couple of weeks. So we have been very busy playing. She's only been here a few days. We've got another week and a half or so. So we are playing, playing, playing. We're doing all the things. We're getting ready to go on the road tomorrow. So I am actually recording this from your past and going to post this. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to post a podcast next week on normal, actual, like real time. But that's you don't notice those things. You just you may not even notice when I don't come out with a podcast, but you do notice when it is there, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're here and we get to hang out and we get to talk about writing. I also appreciate that you don't mind when I waffle on about things about writing, like honoring time off. We do not have to earn time off. You do not have to write a certain number of words in order to feel guilt-free about resting. Rest is a human right. Rest is your right, even if you have let yourself down as a writer recently. Guess how I know? I always let myself down as a writer, almost 100% of the time. It's not actually a bad thing, which is why I talk about it so much. Many writers, dare I say most writers, set goals. They fail to hit the goals. And then there's a decision point. Many writers beat themselves up and write less. Other writers learn how to embrace that and go, "Ooh, yep, that's just part of being a writer, is missing what I wanted to do, and I get to do it again tomorrow. I get to set up a new goal. I get to move toward it. I get to write some words. I get to do some stuff. And if I miss it, it's not a big deal. That's just part of it." So really, it is all about that point of decision. After you realize you've blown your goal, what do you do? Do you slink away and lick your wounds under the bed and get even less writing done? Or do you embrace it and jump around and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm winning. That's part of being a writer. I'm going to do some more words today." And I'm saying this because yesterday I had this unplanned free day off. My sister is here. I had cleared the schedule. I wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to write. I had a couple of maintenance, businessy things to do. I got those done. I saw my sisters for breakfast, and then they wanted to do a couple things that honestly I didn't want to do. I do not want to go on the Weta workshop tour one more time. I've already done it 3 times. It's fabulous. Weta is the Peter Jackson um, beast. It's what makes Lord of the Rings and all those Peter Jackson kind of movies. Their workshop tour is they're based here in Wellington. That's where they make all the movies. It's a great tour, but I didn't want to do it again. And then they wanted to go to a play that I didn't want to see. Actually, I do kind of want to see it, but I do have tickets for it in a couple weeks. So um, I let them go do things together. I get Bethany, the sister who lives here, I get her all the time to myself. And it felt like a good thing for them to do, to go off and spend a whole day together. And I could have gone back to the desk. I could have easily, after breakfast, gone back to the desk, and I have a ton of things to work on. I will always have too much to work on. And you know what I did? I decided to be a bed guy. I was a bed guy. I have not had a bed guy day in weeks and weeks. And usually, honestly, I take bed guy days, which means I just go to bed when I am not feeling well, when I'm fighting a migraine, recently when I've been hurting my back off and on. So this was the most delicious bed guy day. I got into bed and I never look at TikTok unless I am sick or have a migraine. Because I can't look at phones when I have a migraine, thank God. But yesterday I was like, oh, you know what? I feel like looking at TikTok. So I did. I read Reddit. I looked at Instagram. I read books. I stayed in bed until 3 p.m. when I got up and went outside and planted my dahlias and my peonies with all the highest hopes in the world. And I planted some Napa cabbage and some perpetual spinach. And then I went back to bed. and I read some more. It was glorious. And I could have had guilt about not doing work. Instead, I had just serious joy about not doing the work. We get to make that choice. You do not need to earn rest. Please take rest, and it makes doing the work so much more joyful when you get there. All right, I didn't have any plan to go there, so but I'm glad we just talked about that. What else is going on? My classes, as far as I know, I have a couple of slots left. Again, this is coming to you from the past. So if they have sold out, I do apologize. But you can always go look at those at rachelherron.com/90 days to done or rachelherron.com/revision. And at the time of this release of episode, you have about 8 days left to sign up for one of those if you have been on the fence. I am really happy to say these classes change lives. They changed my life. I get to work with amazing people. And I just wanted to, with permission, hopefully I get permission because I have reached out to him and I'm recording this right after I reached out, but Jason will probably say yes, because Jason is my friend. Jason came to me as a student. My students, I don't think this is weird or wrong. I'm just trying to think it through. Is this unprofessional? I don't care. It's my business. My students are my friends. The students that stay with me and work with me turn into my friends. There, I said it. I attract and keep people that I love. People who are not my people who work with me as writers, they don't want to be with me anyway. Jason is just a love and a darling. Jason Poole, you have heard him twice on the show before. If you want to go back and listen to he and I talking after I read this little email that he sent me last night. He was on episode 276 when we geeked out on Oliver Berkman's book, The Magic of 4,000 Weeks. And he was also pretty recently on episode 433 on Getting Unstuck. He's the guy with the writing toolbox. And he sent me this gorgeous email. He says, hello. I wanted to reach out to you because you have been on my mind all day and you have been a major reason I'm finding my groove again. Please don't get me wrong. I love grad school. Break. He's gone back to grad school for poetry, which is amazing. I love grad school and I'm having the best time. But when I sit down to write poems, I choke, which is so weird. I mean, I've always loved writing poems. And when I felt like I couldn't write anything, I'd only need to write a few words and a poem would start to happen on the page. And that sense of play would take over. And I would remember why I love writing in the first place. And grad school means a lot of poems and pressure. And as much as I love reading them and studying poems on my own and thinking about poems 24/7, I choke when I sit down. So I started this whole let's figure this shit out, Jason movement. And I reached out to a friend who's a brilliant flash fiction writer and asked her, hey, is there a book you recommend when you teach folks, a place you like to start? And she recommended Grant Faulkner's The Art of Brevity, which I have, of course. So I picked up the book again and started reading it again. And it makes sense in all kinds of new ways now. And today on my walk, I decided to listen again to your conversation with him. And it was familiar and lovely and all the good stuff. And then toward the end, you both kind of gush about revision and how much you love it. And I remembered how much I love revision. Hello, Jason. Why do you forget everything? At least he's saying this. I'm not saying this. Well, at least all the good/important stuff. And all of a sudden, I was like, boom, back in the saddle. Where was that huge chunk of delicious information? I don't know. Do I still write way too many words? Hell yes. Are my rough drafts still way too prosy? Hell yes. But I can revise. So I went home and started flipping through a fail of quote unquote failed poems. And you know what? None of them are that bad or unsalvageable. Not a single one of them is a failure. Holy shit. And then I heard myself saying, you need to be an advocate for yourself. You need to be your best first reader. You need to write out and then say every time you go back to a first draft, the things you would say to someone whose work you were given the opportunity to read. Because, of course, I would never read someone else's work and look at them in the eye and tell them they're a total fuck up and they should quit, like I do to myself every single time. Why do we forget all the important stuff? Thankfully, I have you, my friend and mentor, my sister in the writing trenches. Gosh, Rachel, I'm so grateful. This has been such a long come back to the page process, and it's getting fun again. And I wanted to reach out to let you know that you've made such a huge impact on my life, and I'm grateful. Revision is life. What an opportunity we have as writers. We're allowed to go back and make things better. Thank you for reminding me. So, just want to wrap yourself up in Jason's words. That's exactly what I am doing here. And I'm reminding you, dear writing listener, that we have to be our own first best advocates. We have to hold those first drafts really, really lightly and loosely because we have this magic. We are allowed to go back and make things better. And oh, to wrap it all back up full circle, this is where I tell you this is why I love working with writers. I don't like it. I love it. It is my life's passion, and I am so honored to get to do it. So if you want to work with me, I'd love to have you. I do know that it is an expense. It is actually on the cheaper side of these kinds of offerings. You may know if you've looked into these kinds of things. And I honor that. I usually give away a couple of scholarships. I have already given away those scholarships. I draw them by random lottery. There are no scholarships available for these next classes because they have been drawn already. And another thing is that I'm trying to write the 90 Days to Done and 90-Day Revision book. There are a lot of other books that are getting in the way of me producing those, but I really want to get a lower cost version of this out there. And because I've been talking to a couple of people recently for whom they want to do this class, but it doesn't fit in their lives at this moment. Something I tell my students is that I'm not the magic feather. I will not be why you write the book if you are in my class. I am incredibly helpful. I will toot my own horn there. My students finish their books. They finish their revisions. They finish the revisions that come after that big revision, and they get their books out into the world. But you don't need me holding your hand to do it. It can be really fun if you can afford it and you have the time. Great. I'd love to have you. But if you can't, you have everything you need already. The only thing you need is the ability to sit down and do a little bit of bad writing and the ability to hold that in yourself and understand that is part of writing, and then to come back the next day. Every single time you sit down at the desk, I guarantee you are becoming a better writer. Even if it feels like you are taking 10 steps backward, you are not. If you are continuing to write forward in any project, you are becoming a better writer. If you are continuing to read, I'm not talking about craft books. Read the books you love. You are becoming a better writer. All you have to do is keep showing up at the page. I am very passionate today about coming back to the page again and again and again. And of course, that is what I do. So if you'd like to look at those, rachelherron.com, click on the writers button. It'll be there. And now let's get into the interview with Elyssa. Elyssa Friedland is the USA Today bestselling author of 6 novels and 1 picture book. A graduate of Yale University and Columbia Law School, she has taught creative writing at Yale and at select conferences. She resides in New York City with her husband and 3 children. And here's the interview. Please, my friends, go do a little bit of writing. Come tell me about it. And here we go. All right. Well, I'm so pleased to welcome you to the show. Will you please share your name and pronouns with us?
Yes, it's Elyssa Friedland, she, her, and I'm
Elyssa,
happy to be here.
thank you so much. I enjoyed your book so much. It was so fun. And I would love to talk to you about the writing process of it. Writing process is what we love at this show. What does yours look like? How does it fit in your life?
Well, first of all, thank you for reading it. I'm
You're
glad you
welcome.
loved it. My writing process pretty much been the same across my books, which is that it's very sporadic. It's not highly regimented or scheduled. So I don't have set hours where I am devoted to writing, and I don't have like a very precious writing routine in terms of like I have to be in this chair at this desk and this lighting with this candle. Like I kind of probably because my life's pretty busy and I have 3 kids and a dog. I live in New York City, which is a hectic place to live.
Do you
I
live in
think I
Manhattan
just
or one of the boroughs?
yeah, I live in Manhattan.
Wow. Wow.
So life's pretty crazy. I think that I just from day one knew I had to be really adaptable. And so I will write while I'm sitting at the kitchen table and the kids are talking to me, or I'll write, if I know I'm going to have to wait at a doctor's office, I will bring my laptop and I'll write a little bit there. Like I'm just right on the go. I mean, obviously that's not my preference. I would love to just sit and have, quiet time, but I also have learned to be able to write with distraction. So people talking in the background, or my kids coming over to ask me questions, or the phone ringing, the texts, like I'm okay with it. Sometimes I think it helps my writing because like I get little shots of ideas like as I'm sitting and
Mhm.
writing. So a text message that comes through on my phone might inspire me to come up with a funny line in a book, or
Mhm.
give me a plot idea. And so sort of like it's like real-time inspiration, which I like. I can definitely work a full day in terms of like if I spread it out over promotion and writing and editing, but just like original writing and first drafting, like I feel like 2 hours is the most I have in me for a day. And then I just hit the wall.
Me too, especially for first drafting, which I find just exhausting. I'd rather do,
Like,
I can revise till the cows come home, but first drafting just takes it out of me completely.
Sam just like wipes me out.
Are you a more of a plotter or a pantser as you go?
Definitely a pantser. I Plotting has just never worked for me. In theory, like I wish, I think it seems easier to be a plotter. I'm sure it's not, and I think it's all hard, but because I find pantsing hard, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, plotting must be better, but I just can't make myself what I'm not. And when I've tried to write outlines, like nothing, no ideas come to me. Like I just sit there and I like, I can't think of a single thing to write, or I have no idea. But then if I just start actually writing, the ideas come. And so like I have to be, I just have to be a pantser because it's the only way like I'm able to write anything. And so while I'll
Mhm.
do like mini plotting, like if I start a new chapter, I'll just write down like three bullet points of like things that should happen in the chapter. But that's
Mhm.
definitely not a fleshed out outline.
I think the not being precious thing too is huge. And I am definitely too precious for my own good at this point. I don't have kids. I don't have a lot of, noise in the background. So I tend to be almost more annoyed when I am interrupted now than when I had a busier
Hmm.
life. And I just think that that is like, especially for mothers who are, working mothers who are writing books. I feel like you are the superheroes of writing. That's where all of the incredible energy comes from. You get it done. I just stand in awe
Yeah,
of
it
you.
is hard. It's also kind of miserable.
I love that admission. What is the most exciting thing that you've ever realized about your own writing process?
I love that question. I think that's really fun. That's such a cool question. I would say that within my last few books, I've realized that it's okay for just a title that comes to you to be enough of a reason to craft a story around it. Like you can get really excited about a title. And by the way, my titles often ends up changing,
Right.
and so that
Yep.
original one that inspired me, it gets changed along the way. But I will just have this title that I think like, I love the way that sounds. And then I'm like, I'm gonna write a book where that title would work. And so, and that's okay. And like that is a legitimate reason to write a novel. Like that is enough of a kernel of inspiration, of something that drives me for whatever reason. The titles come to me first. Like I was thinking about writing a screenplay this summer with a friend, and it was literally because someone was, it's not this expression, but it's the equivalent of like I was with a friend who said something like, using a common phrase like a spoonful of sugar. And I
Hmm.
will be like, a spoonful of sugar. I gotta write that movie. Or like, that would be a great book, and that's it. And then I'm like, I'm gonna write it now. Now what's the book gonna be about? Or what's the movie gonna be about that works with the title, A Spoonful of Sugar? So I heard a similar expression over the summer. I mean, a few months ago that I was I can't get it's like I can't get that out of my head. And that's like enough of a reason to drive me to write like a whole story
I am
around it.
grinning because I have two titles in mind that I have been moving towards writing a book around. One is fiction and one is nonfiction. And I'm like, I can't do that just because I have the title. The fiction
No, you can.
is like, I don't even know if I can write this, but it's just so exciting to me. So thank you for answering the exciting question with that exciting answer,
Well,
which now I just
yeah,
am
because
going to
I've
do it.
really done it. Like I've
Yeah.
written numerous books because the title came to me first and that just excited me and I loved it. I like felt it. It just felt real. I was like, I could see it happening, you know?
Mm.
And then it's fine. And like at the end, like the title ends up getting changed. The publisher doesn't like it for whatever reason. But at that point, I'm okay because I've already written the whole book. So
I think
I'm
out of
happy.
all of my books, only two titles have ever gotten through that were my idea ever. Like
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
what percentage
Yeah.
of yours have?
Two. And one of them which is awful and I hate the title and it like bothers me every time I have to think about it. And one I still like. I want to say it on this because it'll annoy me. I get annoyed. So
I feel that so hard in my soul. Yes. What part of writing do you struggle with the most?
plotting, I would say, just I think two things I struggle with the most. One is definitely keeping track of all the details. I think because that's the downside of having like the frenetic life and the lack of like deep
Mhm.
concentration. Or it might just be my personality and the way my brain works. Like I can't like keep it in my head. Like I just forget where are they? Where do they live again? Like what season is it? Is it a week later? Is it a month later? And like I also just struggle like it's okay by the end, but consistency like
Mm.
across the characters, you know, and just I just kind of write what comes to me in the moment. And then when I go back and I reread it, I'm like, this person's so disjointed, you know, or I
Mhm.
totally forgot, you know, like I'll have like in chapter one, a character is like dying to get a dog. And it's like the main part of chapter one, you know, like this big part of, and then I'll completely forget. Like I write these multiple point of view books. And so they alternate. And the time I get to like this woman's chapter again, I've completely forgotten that like the most important thing we know about her so far is that she really wants a dog. I've just like completely dropped it. Like, and so
And this is why it's so good that we write alone. It would be so embarrassing if somebody could open
yes.
these and look into our brains and see what we're actually doing in the background. It would be mortifying.
But the other thing that I think I really struggle with, which is separate, and I don't know, because that struggle that I said that could be fixed. You just revise, you just go
Right.
through it, and you reread it,
Right.
and you read it, and you fix it. I really struggle with a reveal. Like I can't figure out how to tease something out and what's the right information amount to give to tease it out, but not give it away. When is the right moment in the book to have the twist or the reveal? It's why my books are so character driven and they are not that plot heavy. And like, I would love to have the kind of brain that could write a thriller, but it would be like everyone would know who the murderer is on page one. Like, I'm
That
so
yes.
bad at figuring out like how much to give away and how much to hold back and when to reveal. I don't know how people do it.
I don't know. I've written two thrillers and it was awful. It was terrible. And basically I wrote two women's fiction novels and I always say that my editor said, like, could you please have less feelings, fewer feelings and more stabbing, just like get out of the way because it was
Ah,
all character and I don't want to do it again. I don't know how people do reveals either, but we do reveals in our non-thrillers. Um,
yes,
is that something
but
that yeah.
even in a non thriller, I struggle with it. Like there's
Mhm.
still reveals, like you find out whatever someone, you know, had actually quit their job or had been fired or someone had had
Mhm.
an affair and I don't know when it's like the moment for that to be revealed. It's a yes, of course, there's reveals
Yeah.
in any good book. There are reveals. I just really rely on other people who read my
Uh,
work to just
yes.
like tell me, like, I think this kind of came out of nowhere. You might want to drop some breadcrumbs along the way, or
Yeah.
the opposite. Like, yeah, this is not the surprise you think it is. You've hit us over the head with it 1,000 times.
That's what I usually
So
do. I think I'm super subtle, but I am not. I am throwing things in the faces of the reader. Yes, I love that. What are you really good at writing wise?
characters. That I think that's really where I shine.
Tell us
Characters
more.
and
How do you do
dialogue.
it? How do you build those characters?
It's so corny, but like kind of like the title, like they
Mm.
they come to me and I do this like sort of cheesy, like, but I kind of close my eyes. And that's how I can tune out the outside world, close my eyes. And I just think like, if I have this jackpot summer with 4 siblings, like,
Yeah.
who are these siblings? Who are they? What should be their birth order? What would be their jobs? Like, how would they be different from each other? And I just think, and I just do this like sort of deep thinking. I don't do those character sheets. I think it's really great for people. I'm sure they work really well. That's like too stuff. That's too close to like plotting for me. Like I need to
Hmm.
just figure it out as I go along. But I definitely close my eyes, and I feel like I sound like a medium or something. But like I try to channel them.
Yeah.
I channel these people. Like I think like Matthew, who are you, Matthew? Like what are you wearing right now, and what are you thinking? And like who's your sister, and like who would make an interesting sister for you? And it's like, and if I have one character, like I don't want them to all be like super cliche, like, well, the one type A person and the one chill person, like they all have to have so much nuance in them. So I definitely take time to think like, is this person fully fleshed out? Like if they are just a really chill person, why are they such a chill person? Like what
Hmm.
drives that, and like what makes them unique? Like what makes this person not like just a call up central casting. We need like the chill brother, but we need to like know more about them.
And
And
so go on.
I use the way that because I write these big casts, like I use the way that they interact with each other to, develop. So it's not just like what we see in their heads, what's going on, but also the way they play off each other. And you can learn a lot about just like putting, when you have like 4 people in a room, that's like a great, even if you're in one person's point of view at the moment, but you can learn so much about the other people too at the same time. So I did that a lot in Jackpot Summer by having the sibling group chats uh in between each chapter, so that you never lost sight of the 4 of them and the way they interact with each other, because I couldn't have all 4 of them in every single
It would
scene,
have been
especially
exhausting.
exhausting and also just like not realistic. I mean, unless it was
Yeah.
like a week, but even if you had the whole book take place over a weekend in one house, well, like someone's in the shower sometimes, like someone's going for a walk, like
Yeah.
I couldn't have all 4 of them always in the room, but it was really important to me to use like how they play off against each other. And so the group chat, which I think is also just like very relatable for people, because so many people
Mhm.
have group chats with friends and family, like that, the way they bounced off each other helped me really flesh them out, I would say.
I love
So
that.
character, I think it just comes also from like, I love people. I'm just like a student of people. I connect pretty easily with people. Like I'm a people person. And so I guess I know a wide variety of people. Like
Hmm.
I have sort of a diverse group of friends and diverse group of just people like in my orbit every day. That's also part of New York City. Like luckily, like I'm not just in this bubble of like where everyone looks exactly like me and is in my same situation. Cause like on a given day, I'm interacted with like a Pakistani immigrant driving the taxi, and then like the art student making my coffee, to, my kids' teachers who are, super, like on, millennial on their way. And like, interacting across like all these different swaths of people. And I pay attention.
So you're able
So
to
I think,
pull those
yeah,
out when you create the characters. Going back to the kind of pseudo mediumship, just a nitty-gritty question. When you are closing your eyes and you're thinking about these characters and you're really getting to know them in the beginning, um, what kind of capturing are you doing, if any? Are you doing this with a pen and paper in hand? Or are you doing this while you're with the kids, or are you capturing this, or is this something that you sit down and do, or does it grow organically along the way?
I'm definitely in front of my computer
Yeah.
when I'm doing it. And so it's not like I fill out one of those formal character sheets where it's like, what is this person's astrological sign? What's their favorite holiday, ice cream flavor?
Right.
It's more like my own. I'll just sit there and then I'll have their name and then just bullet points underneath,
Mm.
like Sophie. often it's like I just she's a redhead, but for no reason. Like I just that's how I see her, and so she's a redhead, and I just write down redhead, and
Yeah.
I kind of picture her build, I picture her smile, like, and I just start jotting down little notes about my character. So it's not really plotting, but I do, have this sort of running list. I don't really even refer back to it, but it's just in the beginning when I'm
Mhm.
just thinking about these people. I'm like, I close my eyes and yeah, I do capture it with bullet points and not even like I said, so much to refer back to, but that extra step of just typing it,
Mhm.
like it's like writing something down makes you not forget it as much,
It's like
So
and you're kind of like going to this party for the first time and meeting the people you're going to spend a lot of time with and kind of getting to know them in that
yeah,
moment. I really, really like that image. I think that's a very cool way to do it.
yeah. I definitely am always like in front of my computer when I do it.
Yeah.
Like I don't have
Yeah.
these moments of capturing or even thinking about them when I'm just going about my business, for
Right.
the day.
Right.
It's like it's when I'm in a work mode.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. What is the kindest thing that you've ever done for yourself as a writer?
I would say first I was like, well, is it like not reading as many reviews? But I never was
Mhm.
that upset about the reviews. Like you just can't please everyone. And you don't know anything about the people reviewing you. It's like one thing to be really upset about a professional, like a trade review that's bashing you.
Mhm.
But even then, you don't know the freelancer they assigned it to was having a bad day. Like, but really on Goodreads, like you have no idea like what
Yeah.
I mean, some people are just crazy. And like some
Yeah.
people are really mean and critical.
Yeah.
And by the way, you also have to acknowledge that some of the people who write how amazing your book is also might not know what they're talking about. So I would say,
Amen.
but I was never that really ever upset about reviews. I would say the way I've been kind to myself is as I've written quite a number of books by now, is that I don't kill myself on the promotion. I don't. I
Yay.
just like
I
I'm
love
better. Like
that.
I'm a writer. Like I don't. I definitely do the social media piece. I don't really mind that much because I am creative and I do feel like there's like social media is a creative expression.
Mhm.
So that's nice. Like if I can be clever and have a clever caption or write something funny in a story. But as far as like chasing down every publicity lead and trying to make an event at every bookstore and contact every bookseller I've ever met, like just to like I find that so soul sucking and so exhausting, and it's really hard to calculate what the payoff even is. And it's really doesn't have anything to do with writing. It has to do with promotion. So
Mhm.
I don't want to just write my books and have no one read them. I don't mind. I like talking about them, but I don't need to like that's also the publisher's job. And like I can let them do their job also. Like they're meant to market my book and they're meant to help me get publicity. I'm not self-published. I have a team. And yes, like if I throw myself at it, like will I get a little bit farther? Yes. But it's also like my least favorite part. So I just like I think about other careers. They don't like teachers who work hard all day don't like go and then write on Instagram like everyone, I'm the best teacher ever. Everyone should check out my teaching class. Like it's unnatural. And so I really stopped. Like I just do the events that I can do without totally disrupting my life. If I organically meet someone who says that they would like to, write a review or connect me with someone, like it's good and it's organic and I take advantage of it. And I'm not lazy. Like if someone's like, "Oh, this magazine wants to write a feature," you just have to email them. I'm not like, "Oh, not going to email." Like I'm going to
Of
email.
course. Of course. Yeah.
But I'm not like tirelessly chasing down
Yeah.
every potential way to market and publicize my book the way I did like 3 or 4 books ago.
I haven't been asking this question for very long. I always change the questions around a little bit, but I have not gotten that answer and I love it. I think that that is such a kind, generous thing to do for yourself to let yourself off the hook for being responsible for every single sale that is made of your book because none of us can be. None of us can ever be. The best way the book sell is word of mouth, and I can't do anything about that. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
It's not on me.
yeah,
And if it is totally on me, it's too much for me to undertake anyway.
yeah.
So
That's gorgeous.
I feel like that was a really kind thing that
Yeah.
happened organically. And it started to happen over time. And now I fully own it.
Mm.
And I know that no one thing is going to make or break my book. And so it's not worth killing myself to get from Minneapolis to Los Angeles to go talk to 8 people. Like, it's
8 people who will buy 3 books. Yeah. That's
if you're lucky. Yes.
exactly. Can you please tell us about a moment that you knew you had ink in your veins?
So I actually, I was very young in like second grade. We had to write a short story, probably like 1 or 2 pages, second grade, trying to think like probably one written page. And I plagiarized this book that I had read. And I didn't, like verbatim, but it definitely took the idea. Like I was like this, my story is called The Girl with Strawberry Hair. And she like ate too many strawberries and
That's
she
a good
turned pink, which
title.
actually like, but it was like kind of the precursor to Pink Delicious. And which is sort of funny. But I am not upset about Pink Delicious because I had been copying someone else who had written this book that I had read at home. I was a big reader and was like, your kid drank like too much chocolate milk or something, whatever. I don't know, maybe he turned brown. He was like, I don't know, something turned into a cow. Like, I don't remember something with the chocolate milk. And I copied a lot of the story. But the story was really good that I wrote. And the teacher like called my parents and was like, this is amazing. She brought it to the principal, and the principal was like so impressed. And while I had kind of plagiarized it, I knew that I was so happy to be identified as a writer. Like I felt like that's the best thing that someone could say about me. And like the teacher thinking I was so amazing, let's say at math, like I wouldn't have had that. Like I'm sure it would feel good. It always
Mhm.
feels good if the teacher tells your parents, like, hey, your kid's really good at something. I
Mhm.
think I can say really confidently that if like the teacher had been like, she's so great at science or she's so great at math, like I'd be like, that's cool, that's good. But there was something about being identified as a gifted writer that was like this identity, like it was a costume I just wanted to like zip myself into. It was, you know, I'm sure I already was interested in it because if I took the time to plagiarize a book and like write this, like to try to have this amazing story, but it was like I loved that label. Like
Yeah.
I was labeled as such, and I was like, you can label me all day long. That's the best label I could ask for.
And years later, you have the label. You have given yourself this label by doing this job. That's so great. Your smile is so huge. Most people listen to this
Yeah.
not watch it on YouTube, but those few who are watching on YouTube, your smile is huge when you're talking about that. That's amazing. All right. Will you please tell us, as a readers, what is the best book that you have read recently, and why did you love it?
I love this book called Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies.
That's a
It just came
great
out.
title.
It's a great title. It's written by Catherine Mack. It just
Uh,
came out, I think in May. I loved it because it was totally original. It's a it's a whodunit,
mhm.
but the style of writing is so totally original. It's a fun beach read, and yet the author has over 200 footnotes in the book, which are like the author putting in her own personality. It takes place in Italy. So the author
Oh my
will
gosh, sign me
say,
up.
like, oh, I ordered an Aperol spritz. And then, like, footnote is like, most people drink their Aperol spritz with this much Campari. But if you ask for it this way, like, a cute detail, or, like just very like tongue in cheek stuff, like if she's writing a sex scene and she stops it or whatever, kind of just goes to like summary mode, then the footnote is like, sorry guys, but like that is just TMI. My mom's going to be reading this book, like
That's
she really,
hilarious.
she really breaks the fourth wall through it. And then she, like at a certain point in the book, she just fully starts talking to the reader like, hey guys, who did it? Who do you think?
Oh
It's
my
done like,
gosh. I can't wait to read
these are your
this.
characters, like here are the suspects. You probably think it's this one. Like it's so creative. And
I
yet still like
love
it's
that.
great.
Okay, that is going on my
I'm
TBR.
super impressed because I think it's really hard to, like they say, like you can't ever do anything new. But
But that
I
is
mean,
new.
maybe she plagiarized it from something she read. Like who
Nothing new
knows?
under the
Like,
sun.
but as far as I know, it's original.
That is so cool. All right. Speaking of original, will you please tell us about Jackpot Summer? Give us a little bit about it.
Sure. So, Jackpot Summer is a family dramedy that takes place at the Jersey Shore. It tells the story of four siblings, the Jacobson siblings, who grew up with this beloved beach house on Long Beach Island. There are tons of memories, tons of great, funny stories. And when the book opens, the four siblings are together with their father, and they have lost. He's a widower, and they've lost their mother the year before, and they're all together. And the father announces that he's moving to Florida, and he's going to be selling this beach house that they love so much. And all the siblings react differently. Some are more upset than others, and they have a deeper attachment to it. But that's how we meet them. We understand that they have this really special place in their family, and they gather together for July 4th weekend to pack up the house because the father's, an older man. He needs their help, and he says, to come and to help him pack up the house, and they're together. And one night, I think it's the first or second, I don't remember anymore. The first or second night of the weekend, I think it's the first night, the youngest brother, he needs to get out of the house for a reason, which I won't reveal. But when asked, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to go buy a Powerball ticket. They had just seen a story on the news about the big Powerball. And he's like, doesn't want to say the real reason he's leaving the house. And he's like, I'm just going to go to 7-Eleven and buy a Powerball ticket. And his two sisters, they're like, sure, we could use some money. They like throw a few bucks his way. And they're like, count us in, count us in. And the fourth sibling, the oldest Jacobson, is like, looks at his wife. They're very like hoity toity and idiots. Like, who? The lottery's a tax on stupid people. No, thank you. Well, of course, the ticket is a winner. And the story takes place over the next year of how the money changes everything for those three siblings in very different ways. And also how they manage with their fourth sibling, figuring out whether they should cut him in or not.
It is so
And that's
creative.
the story.
It felt so real. These siblings really felt like real people. And it's just such a high concept. I enjoyed the whole thing. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
writing it.
Thanks.
And please tell us where we can find you out there online.
My website, ElyssaFriedland.com, and I'm most active on Instagram, which is just Elyssa Friedland. And I guess what should I spell it? I don't know. Is
Oh,
that
yes, please. Yes, please. That'll help.
because I definitely have like not the
That's right. Both.
easiest
Yeah, the
spelling.
Alyssa. Yeah.
So it's ElyssaFriedland, Elyssa Friedland for my website and my Instagram. And
Perfect.
meet me there. Sorry,
And
choking.
Jackpot Summer, no worries. And Jackpot Summer is available everywhere. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate your time. It's been a delight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it too.